Hey guys, tonight we're diving headfirst, possibly face first, into the glittery, chaotic and suspiciously white powdered world of 1970s Miami. That's right, you're about to experience the deadly life of a cocaine-addicted NFL player, right at the intersection of pro sports, disco and enough narcotics to terrify an entire pharmacy. Before we even get started, take a second to like the video and subscribe, but only if you actually enjoy these absurd history stories. And hey, drop a comment below. Where are you listening from? And what time is it for you? I want to know if you're hearing this from the comfort of your 800 thread count sheets, or from the floor of your home gym, surrounded by half-buried workout equipment and shame. Now, let's set the mood. Dim those lights, flick on a fan for that classic hotel room by the beach white noise, and get comfortable. Maybe double check that your alarm is set because you're about to lose a few brain cells just by hearing what went on in these locker rooms. Let's pause for a second. Have you ever wondered what it felt like to wake up in Miami with more powder on your nightstand than on a jelly donut? Could you run a touchdown with last night's party still ringing in your ears, and possibly your nose? What was it like to play professional football when every commercial break could double as a drug deal? Would you survive a full contact sport with a heart rate matching a blender on crush ice? Could you win a Super Bowl while dodging both linebackers in the DEA? And now, congratulations, you've just woken up in 1976 Miami. You're wearing aviator sunglasses indoors, your heartbeat sounds like a disco drum solo, there's glitter on your pillow, and you're pretty sure your breakfast was classified as a controlled substance. Good luck. You don't so much wake up as regain consciousness face down, tangled in satin sheets, with the faint sound of the Bee Gees leaking through a cracked window. You reach for the alarm, but instead grab a shaker full of suspicious white dust. Welcome to another day in paradise, where breakfast is half a grapefruit and a pharmaceutical sampler. Let's talk about the view. You crack open one eye and squint into a Miami sunrise that looks almost apologetic. The sky is pink, the palm trees sway, and there's a faint glimmer of hope, until you realize your tongue feels like shag carpet, and your nose is suspiciously numb. Last night's party left its calling card. A glitter trail from the living room to the bathroom, 3 strangers on the couch, and an empty pizza box that's somehow wound up in the fish tank. There's a disco ball spinning somewhere, possibly in your head. You stagger to your feet, technically more of a crawl, and do a quick inventory. Wallet, missing, pants, optional, dignity, left at the club. You brush off the mirror, only to meet your own eyes, bloodshot and staring back with the intensity of a Miami traffic cop. Even your hair looks hungover, slicked back and clinging to your forehead with the stubbornness of a linebacker on 4th down. Mornings, if you can call them that, come with their own soundtrack. Distant traffic, a neighbour's parrot screeching obscenities, and the persistent rhythmic thump of your own pulse in your temples. You shuffle to the kitchen, tripping over someone's platform shoes. Could be yours, could be the mysterious man who claimed to be in real estate. The countertop is littered with evidence. Empty bottles, wilted celery, an ashtray so full it qualifies as a minor geological formation. Time for the athlete's breakfast. You slice a grapefruit and chase it with coffee so strong it could dissolve metal, and then you wash down a rainbow of pills with orange juice that tastes faintly of vodka. You think about vitamins, but decide that's for next season. The fridge is a graveyard of old takeout and questionable condiments, and you make a mental note to call your mother, just to remind yourself you're still someone's child. Then you immediately forget. Here's the real morning routine. You check your nose for blood, your arms for bruises, and your phone for missed calls from agents, teammates, or anyone who might have seen you on the news. The newspaper headline reads something about another Miami scandal. Possibly you, possibly not. You flip past the sports section, searching for clues about what happened last night and why there's glitter on your pillowcase that spells out touchdown. The phone rings. It's your coach, reminding you that practice started 15 minutes ago. You assure him you're on your way, while simultaneously searching for clean socks and your sense of shame. No luck on either front. You throw on yesterday's sweats, splash some aftershave in the vague direction of your face, and stuff a granola bar in your pocket for later, knowing full well it'll melt before you remember it exists. Before you leave, you scan the room for anything that might count as evidence. Empty baggies get stuffed in a shoe, mysterious receipts in a sock drawer, and you toss a blanket over whatever's moving under the coffee table. That's tomorrow's problem. You grab your gym bag, take one last look at your palace of poor decisions, and step out into the Miami heat, a human snow globe of nerves, caffeine, and questionable ambition. And as you hit the sidewalk, blinking in the sunlight, you remind yourself, this is the dream. You're a professional football player in the city of cocaine, disco, and dreams, just as long as you survive the morning. Welcome to another day in 1970s Miami. Time to get to work. A proper NFL player in 1976 can't face practice until he's peeled the nightclub off his skin. You stumble to the shower, still smelling like a blend of bourbon, brute cologne, and questionable decisions. The water runs cold, but that's fine, so do you, emotionally. Let's set the scene. The bathroom is a study in late 70s design, meaning everything is brown, orange, or carpeted, sometimes all three. The tile is cracked. The towel smells like a cocktail napkin, and there's a disco ball-shaped soap dish that you don't remember buying, but you do remember dancing under something identical at 3 a.m. last night. The harsh bathroom light flickers on, exposing every glitter fleck stuck to your neck and the smear of eyeliner that was either applied ironically or as part of a failed disguise. It's Miami, so there's sand on the floor, even if you haven't been to the beach in a month. Standing under the water, you try to piece together the highlights reel from last night's festivities. Was it a club opening, an after-party, an impromptu conga line in the team hotel lobby? Who can say? All you know is the smell of last night's cologne and the faint lingering aroma of cigarettes, both legal and otherwise, is making your nostrils twitch. You lather up, and the suds turn a suspicious shade of grey. You scrub at your arms, half expecting to find a phone number or two written in marker. You do, one's a Miami area code, one just says call mom, which you're pretty sure wasn't written by you. Your knuckles are bruised from some dance floor mishap, or possibly just aggressive high-fiving. As the water runs colder, your teeth chatter, but you're grateful. It's the only thing keeping you upright. The disco shower isn't just about cleaning your body, it's about attempting to scrub your soul. You use shampoo like a fire hose, trying to wash away every memory of embarrassing dance moves, shouted conversations, and your own public declaration that you could absolutely kick a 40-yarder in these boots. You reach for your loofah, which is less loofah and more old hotel washcloth with aspirations. No matter, this is a full contact cleanse. Let's talk about hair care. In the 1970s, the NFL required a helmet on the field, but in Miami you wore your hairstyle like armor. You dig product out of your hair with the determination of a miner, uncovering flecks of glitter, traces of mousse, and a sticky residue that could be a cocktail or just Miami humidity. Rinsing it all out takes 15 minutes, 2 deep breaths, and the last shreds of your patience. At some point, you catch your own reflection in the foggy mirror. You don't look well rested, but you do look alive, sort of. Your eyes have the 1,000-yard stare of someone who's seen too many sunrises from the wrong side of a nightclub window. You resolve, for the 17th time this month, to take it easy next weekend. Even you don't believe yourself. Stepping out of the shower, you wrap yourself in the towel, which immediately sticks to a few spots of dried sweat and last night's cologne. You swipe a hand through the fogged mirror and attempt to make yourself presentable. The Miami sun streaming through the window reminds you it's already 85 degrees, and it's not even 8 a.m. You slap on deodorant like it's spackle, swipe your teeth with the nearest brush, and throw on a t-shirt with the logo of a club you're pretty sure you were banned from last spring. Before you leave, you spritz on another cloud of brute cologne, just to remind everyone that you're still committed to the bit. The smell of clean is relative, and in 1976 Miami, you're just aiming for less alarming. You grab your bag, take one last look at your freshly scrubbed self, and step into the hallway. Outside, you're ready to face whatever practice, your teammates, and the city of Miami have to throw at you. Well, almost ready. You can't wash off everything, but at least for today, you smell slightly more like a football player and less like Studio 54's Lost and Found. Welcome to the art of the disco shower. You might not remember last night, but you'll survive today. Probably. You hit the team facility, only to find that someone's already raided the trainer's stash of motivational supplements. The locker room isn't just a place for cleats and towels, it's the Wall Street of white powder, with trades, happening faster than you can tape your ankles. The first thing you notice is the soundtrack. Someone's blaring disco from a battered boombox in the corner, the bass line thumping in time with your already elevated heart rate. It smells like a wrestling match between sweat, chemical sports rub, and the unmistakable tang of whatever was poured into the Gatorade cooler this morning. On one bench, a mountain of shoulder pads. On another, a tangle of jock straps and last night's party leftovers, half a sub sandwich and an open bottle of something that definitely isn't water. Your teammates greet you with a mix of chest bumps, inside jokes, and rapid-fire boasts. One guy claims he benched 400 after a night at Studio 54. Another insists he outran a police cruiser on Biscayne Boulevard. You nod along. The truth is, nobody remembers the truth, but exaggeration is practically a team sport. You open your locker, and a small cloud of talcum powder drifts out, followed by a rolled-up dollar bill and a note from the equipment manager. Try not to break anything expensive today. The pre-practice routine is a full-contact event. Guys are taping ankles, slapping on knee braces, and popping so many Advils you start to wonder if the team doctor's main job is inventory control. The star running back pulls out a pouch and snorts something with the confidence of a man who's forgotten what a headache feels like. Everyone pretends not to notice. It's for allergies, he winks. Sure, the only thing you're allergic to is running out of supplies. Conversation in the locker room could fill a comedy special. You compare scars, trash talk about whose suit is the loudest, and argue about who's got the best connection for performance enhancers. And no, we're not talking about protein shakes. At least 2 guys are flexing in the mirror, practicing their injured but still sexy poses for the TV cameras. It's hard to tell if they're preparing for the game or a guest spot on Miami Vice. The trainer walks in with a tray of tape, bandages, and a look that says, "I'm not paid enough for this." He asks who needs ice. 3 hands go up. Who needs a shot? All hands. The only thing more popular than pre-game stretches are the mysterious vitamin injections that always seem to make you run just a little bit faster and talk just a little bit louder. Nobody asks what's in them. Nobody wants to know. You lace up your cleats and hear snippets of conversations, plans for after the game, whispers about an upcoming drug test, just drink vinegar, trust me, and arguments over who got the highest score on Space Invaders last night. The rookie is frantically searching his bag for his mouthguard, only to realise he left it at a club in Coconut Grove. You loan him one from your backup stash. It tastes like desperation and last season's regrets. In the far corner, a group is huddled around a bag of powder like it's the Stanley Cup. Someone makes a trade, a few lines for a pair of new wristbands and a promise not to tell the coach. It's all very professional, in a way that would make Wall Street nervous. The actual coaching staff keeps their distance, eyes carefully averted because plausible deniability is as important as a good offensive line. With a final round of high fives and at least one friendly headbutt, you head out toward the field. Your nose tingles, your heart races, and your head buzzes with a mix of caffeine, adrenaline, and motivation. There's nothing like the team bond of shared secrets, shared vices, and the unspoken agreement that whatever happens in the locker room stays in the locker room until it shows up in next week's tabloid anyway. Time to hit the field, taped up and turbocharged, ready to play like legends, or at least like men who will definitely need an ice bath before noon. Welcome to the NFL Miami style. Today's menu: coffee, 3 eggs, and whatever pills the offensive line swears make you invincible. Team doctors look the other way as long as nobody snorts the orange juice. You shuffle into the cafeteria, sunglasses still glued to your face, even though the only thing brighter than the Miami sunrise is the neon "Eat Like a Champion" sign buzzing overhead. The room is a fever dream of linoleum floors, plastic trays, and players in various stages of recovery. Some look ready for a playoff game, others look like extras in a zombie movie. The air smells like scrambled eggs, burnt toast, and the faint chemical bite of muscle rub that seeps into everything, including the oatmeal. You slide into the breakfast line, clutching your tray like it's the Lombardi Trophy. Behind you, someone's telling a story about a nightclub bouncer, a birthday cake, and the Miami SWAT team. Details fuzzy, but everyone's nodding along as if it's completely normal. The kitchen staff know you by name and by prescription, and they never blink when you request extra bacon or slip a vitamin C tablet into your orange juice with the precision of a chemist. Breakfast isn't about nutrition, it's about survival. The coffee is jet black, served in mugs so stained that archaeologists might mistake them for artifacts. You load up on eggs, a little fruit, doctor's orders, mostly ignored, and a donut so thickly powdered it leaves a suspicious dusting on your upper lip. You glance around. No one seems to mind. In fact, a couple of your teammates have started ranking the powdered donuts on a scale of breakfast treat to possible evidence. Conversation at the table is a blur of brags and banter. The offensive line is debating whether vitamin B12 counts as a performance enhancer. If you chase it with a Red Bull and a multivitamin, that looks suspiciously like a horse tranquilizer. The tight end swears by his pre-game smoothie, a blend of kale, protein powder, and something that makes your ears itch just looking at it. Someone else is eating cold pizza with a fork, and you're pretty sure he's ahead of the nutrition curve. You take your supplements with the same nonchalance as an accountant drinking coffee. Half the bottles aren't labelled, the rest might as well say good luck. You swallow 2, maybe 3 mystery pills, chasing them with orange juice that could strip paint. The rookie looks at you with awe and a little fear. You give him your best, just wait, smile, and offer a donut. He refuses, as if that's the healthy choice. There's an art to eating with one hand and applying an ice pack to your shoulder with the other. The older guys are experts, balancing food, pain management, and the day's crossword. Someone starts reading the horoscopes aloud, and you're not sure if he's joking or genuinely concerned that Mercury in retrograde might mess with his passing game. No one laughs. You will quietly make a note to avoid wearing red socks today. As you finish breakfast, the team doctor does a quick sweep, asking how everyone feels. You respond with a chorus of grunts, shrugs, and one guy muttering invincible, but only on Wednesdays. The doc writes something on his clipboard. No one ever sees what it is. Maybe it's just the menu for next week. Maybe it's a list of who's most likely to need a stomach pump before lunch. On your way out, you snag another donut for later, tucking it into your gym bag alongside a protein bar, a roll of tape, and a motivational cassette labelled Eye of the Tiger. The caffeine kicks in, the sugar rush follows, and for a few glorious minutes you feel like you could run through a brick wall, or at least make it through warm-ups without falling over. This is breakfast in 1970s Miami, a symphony of sugar, caffeine, and hope, topped with just enough powdered sugar to keep things interesting. You clean the donut dust off your jersey, slap your teammate on the back, and head toward the field. It's time to play football, or at least try not to pass out before practice ends. The morning drills are more NASCAR than NFL, everybody's running at triple speed, and you're sweating so much your jersey looks like it's been pressure washed. Your coach is yelling, but his mustache is louder. You line up for sprints, heart already thumping out a Miami disco beat. The Florida sun is barely up, but the practice field is a sauna of humidity, grass stains, and ambition. Someone in the secondary is bouncing on the balls of his feet like a caffeinated jackrabbit. Another guy's eyes are so wide, you wonder if he can see into next week's playbook. You catch a whiff of something sharp, muscle rub, menthol, and a hint of whatever the strength coach keeps in that thermos-labelled coffee. You suspect it's mostly optimism and liquid lightning. The whistle blows and you take off down the field, legs pumping like you're being chased by debt collectors and the entire Dade County Vice squad. The air tastes like Gatorade and regret. Every player is running as if the ground is on fire, which, given the temperature, might actually be true. By the third sprint, you're starting to hallucinate water fountains and the possibility of a nap. But there's no mercy in the 1970s NFL, just more running, and a vague sense that your ancestors survived plague so you could run shuttle drills at 9 a.m. Coach paces the sideline, clipboard in hand, barking out orders in a voice that could peel paint. You try to focus on the playbook, but your mind keeps drifting. Did you lock your car? Was last night's club actually on fire, or was that just the lighting? Did you remember to hide your stash, or is the equipment manager about to get a surprise? The important things, really. You hit the tackling sled and nearly bounce off. The thing weighs more than your hopes and dreams combined. Teammates line up behind you, each one trying to outdo the last in a display of raw aggression and questionable technique. Someone claims he once knocked the sled back 10 yards, but the coach just snorts, mustache bristling with skepticism. The offensive linemen grunt, the wide receivers talk smack, and the defensive backs leap around like grasshoppers on a hot stove. Drills blur together, pass routes, agility ladders, more sprints, a round of Oklahoma drills that leave you coated in mud, sweat, and the faint aroma of regret. At one point the rookie fumbles, and the coach unleashes a lecture about focus, discipline, and not embarrassing me in front of the Gatorade rep. The lecture lasts longer than your last relationship. You sneak glances at the trainers, who stand ready with towels, ice packs, and that magical spray that's probably just cold water and placebo. Someone mutters about extra motivation and disappears behind the bleachers for a minute. He comes back grinning and runs the next set of drills like he's auditioning for a superhero movie. As the sun climbs, your jersey clings to you like saran wrap. The grass stains multiply, the sweat pours, and your calves burn with the kind of pain you only admit to in therapy. The field is a minefield of discarded tape, empty water bottles, and dreams of early retirement. The rookie looks like he might faint, but you give him a nod and an encouraging slap on the helmet. It's his turn to learn what it means to give 110%, which in Miami is just code for the try not to throw up in front of the coach. Coach calls for one more round because, of course, there's always just one more. You dig deep, find reserves of energy you didn't know existed, and bolt down the field as if the disco era itself is chasing you. When the final whistle blows, you collapse in the grass, lungs heaving, face turned toward the hazy blue sky. Somehow, you survived. The practice is over for now. The adrenaline fades, replaced by exhaustion and a weird kind of pride. This is 1970s NFL Miami, fast, furious, and absolutely unforgiving. You drag yourself to your feet, ready for whatever comes next, just as long as it isn't more sprints. After practice, it's time for a checkup, which mostly means pretending your nosebleed is just allergies. Team doctors do their best, but half the roster has the pupils of an anime villain. You shuffle off the field, jersey sticking to your ribs, and duck into the air-conditioned haven of the training room. It smells like antiseptic, chalk, and the faint lingering aroma of hope. The fluorescent lights flicker overhead, highlighting every bruise, grass stain, and questionable life choice you've made since sunrise. There's a tray of orange slices on the counter, but they're less refreshing snack and more garnish for a cocktail you once regretted. The line to see the doctor snakes around the benches. You take your place, sandwiched between a defensive tackle icing his ankle, with a bag of frozen peas, and a punter who's reading the side of a pill bottle like it's a Sudoku puzzle. Nobody makes eye contact, because eye contact invites questions, and questions invite confessions. The team doctor, clipboard in hand, has seen it all. He's patched you up after concussions, stitched your eyebrow after a bar fight, and given up entirely on asking why everyone's blood pressure is in the triple digits before lunch. He calls you over, and you plop onto the paper-covered exam table. He pokes, prods, shines a light in your eyes, and asks the same questions as always. How's your breathing? Any pain today? Did you sleep last night? You answer with a shrug, a grunt, and a carefully constructed lie about your great bedtime routine. You both know the truth, but this is the dance. Part medical, part theatre. Behind the doctor's back, the real action begins. Out of sight, a few teammates swap tips on which vitamins mask a drug test, which pharmacies don't ask questions, and which back-alley chiropractor offers something a little stronger than muscle relaxers. You hear whispers about a guy downtown who can fix anything, sprains, hangovers, even existential dread, all with a single shot and a reassuring wink. Today, the doc finds a bruise on your ribs the size of a grapefruit and asks, "How'd this happen?" You tell him you took a helmet in the pile-up, omitting the part where you dove into a nightclub speaker last night. He wraps you up, tapes your shoulder, and hands you a paper cup of pills. They're supposed to help, but you suspect one of them is just a tic-tac. The medical staff does their best, but they're playing whack-a-mole with symptoms. Ice here, tape there, a pat on the back for good luck, champ. Over at the trainer's table, someone is getting their knee drained, another is popping his shoulder back in, and a third is working through a deep tissue massage that sounds more like a crime. The rookie, looking pale, asks if it's normal to see 3 of everything after a hit. The trainer laughs, hands him an ice pack, and mutters something about rookie vision. After your checkup, you wander to the back room for extra care. Here's where things get a little fuzzy. There's always a bottle of something on the counter, sometimes B12, sometimes something for the pain, sometimes just a sugar pill with a placebo effect so strong you feel invincible for 10 minutes. The medicine man, part doctor, part dealer, part confessor, looks you over and decides what cocktail of legal and quasi-legal remedies will get you through the next game. Sometimes there's a new face in the hallway, a consultant with a suitcase, a tan, and a grin you wouldn't trust to hold your wallet. You never ask what's inside the suitcase, but you're pretty sure it's not just medical supplies. By the end of it, you leave the training room taped, patched, and loaded up with just enough mystery medicine to walk straight, run fast, and maybe, just maybe, remember your own name. You're ready for the next round, doubts safely buried under layers of tape, adrenaline, and whatever's in that little orange pill. After all, in 1970s Miami, the only thing more persistent than your injuries is your determination to play. Or maybe it's just the caffeine. Either way, you're back in the game. With self-esteem artificially inflated, you confidently challenge the defensive line to arm wrestling on top of a ping-pong table during film study. Nobody objects because everyone is wired like a pinball machine. This is not your standard post-practice cooldown. You're vibrating with a strange new energy, heart pounding at a tempo last heard during the Saturday Night Disco remix. The offensive line is gathered around the film projector, but nobody's paying attention to the X's and O's on the wall. Instead, the air is thick with bold claims, bad ideas, and the kind of bravado you only find in a locker room or a pyramid scheme. You leap onto the ping-pong table, elbowing aside a stack of playbooks and half a bagel. Winner takes all, you declare, though nobody is clear what all actually is. Someone immediately cranks up the Bee Gees on the boombox because nothing says athletic excellence like arm wrestling to staying alive. The defensive tackle cracks his knuckles, the wide receiver starts taking bets, and the backup kicker gets so hyped he does 3 push-ups and immediately needs a Gatorade. Confidence is infectious and today, suspiciously pharmaceutical. You're not just feeling good, you're convinced you could wrestle a grizzly bear, negotiate world peace, and still have time for an autograph session at the mall. The trash talk escalates to Olympic levels. The quarterback claims he could bench press the team bus if you gave him 5 minutes and a decent boost. The cornerback boasts that he hasn't slept since last Tuesday, but he's never felt sharper. Even the normally reserved tight end throws his towel on the table and bets his entire collection of vintage baseball cards on the outcome. There's a reason the coaches pretend not to hear any of this. The meeting room is supposed to be a temple of strategy, but today it's more like a casino crossed with an animal shelter. The coaches are at the whiteboard, diagramming plays, but even they can't ignore the growing roar of encouragement and the thud of the ping-pong table as you and the defensive tackle lock arms in a battle of will, muscle, and ego. Outside, the Miami sun is beating down, but inside it's a different climate, adrenaline-fueled and utterly unhinged. Someone suggests upping the stakes. Loser buys dinner, or does a lap around the field in just a jockstrap. You're fairly certain nobody will remember these terms by sundown, but it adds a sense of gravitas to the moment. As the match drags on, teammates chant, bang on lockers, and toss towels in the air like confetti. Your biceps tremble, your knuckles turn white, and for a second you wonder if this is how legends are made or just lawsuits. Finally, the table creaks ominously, the defensive tackle's arm gives an inch, and you slam his fist down in triumph. The room erupts. The coach doesn't even look up from his clipboard, muttering, "If you break that table, you're explaining it to the GM." But the contest isn't really about winning or losing. It's about the buzz, the shared rush of invincibility and stupidity that comes with knowing you're all in this ridiculous circus together. In the background, someone starts a new round, this time with push-ups, while a couple of guys practice end-zone dances they'll never actually use in a game. You sit back, chest puffed, grin plastered across your face, already forgetting your last defeat and plotting the next showdown. Out in the real world, nobody would believe half the things that happen in this room, and that's just how you like it. Here, bravado's currency, and the only real rule is that nobody ever, under any circumstances, admits to being tired. Bonded by bad ideas and better stories, you head to lunch as a team, still undefeated, at least in spirit. You finally get paid, but after your agent, your cousin, and a man named Elgato take their cuts, you're left with enough for a new pair of sunglasses and some party favours. Financial literacy is for quarterbacks. Let's break down the economics. You're standing in the team's front office, eyes glued to a check the size of a small surfboard. The number printed on it makes you dizzy for a moment, until you remember how many hands are about to grab their share before it ever reaches your wallet. First up, the agent, who negotiates contracts for a living and somehow manages to negotiate 20% off the top for himself, plus expenses, which always seem to include steak dinners and cab rides to places you've never heard of. Next, it's family hour. Your cousin needs a new business loan, code for help me buy a boat I will crash before Labor Day. Your old high school coach is suddenly interested in coaching your finances, and your mum would just like to remind you that her car sounds funny again. By the time you're done paying off blood relatives, third cousins, and that one uncle who only shows up on payday, your stack of bills is looking as thin as the Miami newspaper's ethics section. Enter Elgato, a local fixer who always seems to know a guy, and who definitely insists on being paid in cash. His services are mysterious, his wardrobe is all silk, and he assures you he's saving you thousands on unnecessary headaches. You hand over an envelope, try not to ask too many questions, and vow to spend what's left on something you can actually show your accountant if you ever see him again. With the shakedowns complete, you do what any self-respecting athlete in 1970s Miami would do. You hit the mall. Sunglasses are non-negotiable. You need lenses big enough to hide the effects of last night's festivities and frames wide enough to deflect questions from the press. The sales clerk recognizes you immediately, rings you up for 2 pairs, and throws in a free cleaning cloth for all those nightclubs. You feel like a rock star until you check your wallet and realize your net worth is now 2 sunglasses, a receipt, and a pocket full of dreams. The rest goes toward essentials, which in Miami means party favors that come in both powdered and liquid form. Nobody talks about it, but everyone's in the same boat, paddling hard and hoping not to capsize. There's a joke among teammates. You can't take it with you, but you can try to spend it before the DEA knocks on your door. Your idea of budgeting is making sure you have enough cash left for cab fare home from the club. Back at the facility, someone's already arguing with the team accountant. The accountant, a man with a haunted look and a Rolodex full of IRS phone numbers, tries to explain compound interest. The running back interrupts. If I buy 2 cars, do they get faster or just more expensive? The accountant sighs. No one in this room is here for the math. Occasionally the team brings in a financial advisor to give a speech. You listen politely as he talks about stocks, bonds, and planning for retirement. Nobody takes notes. Someone in the back asks if retirement is a club and whether it has a good happy hour. You leave the seminar with a pamphlet, which you use as a coaster for your next drink. When you finally tally up your day's haul, it's less life-changing windfall and more decent night out. Still, it's Miami, and you're young, famous, and convinced you'll never run out. You tuck the remainder into your gym bag, right next to your playbook and an unopened envelope from the IRS. That's a problem for future you. Today, you've got cash, confidence, and exactly 0 plans to act your age. Money in Miami isn't about what you keep. It's about what you can spend before someone else claims it, and about the stories you'll have when the money's gone. Is it Sunday or Saturday night? It's hard to say since you haven't slept since Thursday. You lace up your cleats, inhale the scent of fresh grass, and maybe, just maybe, a trace of something extra from the Gatorade cooler. Your eyes sting under the stadium lights, which might as well be a sunrise. The crowd is roaring, the band is blaring, and your sense of reality is wobbling somewhere between a tailgate party and a police lineup. You slap on your helmet, not entirely sure if you're gearing up for kickoff or the after party. The trainers look concerned, but then again, they always do. They've seen enough to know that ready to play means can walk in a straight line and remember at least half of the playbook. Warm-ups are a fever dream. The field is alive with bouncing bodies. Half your teammates are hopping in place. The other half are doing stretches that look suspiciously like dance moves from last night's club. The defensive end is shadowboxing with a goalpost. The kicker's meditating at the 50-yard line, eyes closed, breathing like a yoga instructor who's just discovered espresso. You try to focus, but your mind keeps slipping sideways. Did you lock your car? Did you actually eat breakfast? Or was that just a vivid dream about powdered donuts? Is it possible to pull a hamstring in your brain? Coach gives a pep talk. At least you assume it's a pep talk. The words blur together into motivational static, occasionally punctuated by the phrase, "Remember, gentlemen, we play for the love of the game." You try to nod in agreement but accidentally high-five the water boy. Nobody seems to notice. The only thing louder than the crowd is your own heartbeat, thumping like a disco remix in your chest. As the anthem plays, you rock back and forth, caught somewhere between nervous energy and the stubborn belief that you might actually be able to fly if you flap your arms hard enough. Teammates slap pads and bellow their favourite superstitions. Right sock first, touch the goalpost, never trust a man with a moustache in December, someone's wearing sunglasses under their helmet, you just go with it. Kickoff comes with a blur of noise, light and adrenaline. The ball arcs high, and suddenly it's all muscle memory. The rush downfield, the smack of pads, the sensation that time has turned to molasses and you're moving through it at double speed. The air smells of cut grass, sweat, and something distinctly chemical wafting off the Gatorade. The offensive line is locked in, communicating in a secret language of head nods and exaggerated gestures. You swear the quarterback is calling audibles in Morse code. First play, chaos. Someone misses a block, someone else improvises a breakdance move in the backfield, and you find yourself face to face with a linebacker whose eyes are so wide he could moonlight as a lighthouse. Somehow you make the catch, tumble forward, and pop up with the energy of a game show host. The crowd erupts. Or maybe that's just the ringing in your ears. Between downs, you jog to the sideline, gulp a mystery sports drink and pretend not to notice the assistant coach dropping antacids into his coffee. Nobody looks rested. Nobody looks worried. This is the NFL in 1970s Miami. Play hard, party harder, and never ask what's in the water bottle unless you're prepared for the answer. As the game rolls on, you realise you're not tired. You're just operating in a new dimension, one where every play is an adventure, every snap is a question mark, and nobody, not even you, knows what's going to happen next. Sunday? Saturday? It all blends together. Game day or game night, the only thing that matters is you're here, you're alive, and you're somehow still running. And if you're lucky, you might even remember the score. The opening whistle blows, and you're off like a jackrabbit with a mortgage. Every hit rattles your brain, but you don't feel a thing, not until halftime when the adrenaline and everything else wears off. From the first snap, the field is less a football arena and more a gladiatorial pit. Bodies colliding, pads crashing, the kind of chaos that would make Roman emperors proud. You streak down the field, muscles burning, heart thrumming somewhere north of the legal speed limit. Opponents close in, but you meet them head on, moving so fast you barely have time to brace for impact before you're airborne, spinning or flat on your back, staring up at a sun that's much too bright for a man who hasn't slept since the Ford administration. Helmet-to-helmet contact isn't just a risk, it's the daily special. The linebacker hits you so hard you see 3 mascots doing the can-can. You bounce back up because that's what you do, but the inside of your helmet smells like desperation and mint chewing gum. Someone shoves a smelling salt under your nose, and suddenly you're awake, alert and slightly angry for reasons you can't remember. Coaches bark from the sidelines, voices barely cutting through the ringing in your ears. The trainers hover, eyes scanning for signs of confusion, but you've got your answers rehearsed. I'm good, coach. No, I don't know what year it is, but I can definitely run the next play. Around you, teammates are shaking out their arms, rolling their necks, and trying to blink away the stars. Nobody complains. You all know that showing weakness is for the off-season, or at least for the drive home. The sound of pads colliding is relentless, a percussion section made of bone and bravado. At some point you realise you're sweating so hard the salt stains on your jersey could be mined for minerals. Your knees ache, your ribs rattle, and the back of your head pulses with a dull, persistent drumbeat. Still, you power through, carried along by a mix of willpower, team spirit, and whatever the trainer slipped into the sports drink cooler. You tell yourself it's electrolytes, but it could just as easily be ground-up rocket fuel. A receiver takes a hit so loud the crowd gasps. He pops back up, winks at the sideline, and jogs off with a limp that will last until next Tuesday. On the next play, you leap for a pass and get sandwiched between 2 defenders, the wind knocked out of you so thoroughly that for a second you're not sure if you still exist. But the adrenaline rush is too strong to care. You stagger back to the huddle, grinning, teeth flecked with Gatorade and resolve. All around you, players push through bruises, sprains, and mild concussions that would sideline a lesser human. The mantra is simple. If you can walk, you can play. If you can't walk, someone will carry you to the next drill. There's an unspoken agreement that pain is temporary, but glory, and highlight reels, last forever. When the whistle finally signals half-time, you stumble toward the tunnel. Your head is ringing, your hands are shaking, and your body is somehow both numb and aching. In the locker room, you sit in silence, eyes unfocused, waiting for the next dose of adrenaline or the next round of medical attention to kick in. You know you'll pay for all this tomorrow, but right now you don't feel a thing. You just hear the crowd, see the bright lights, and know you're alive. This is 1970s football in Miami. Brutal, beautiful, and barely regulated, and you wouldn't trade it for anything, at least not until the post-game ice bath. In the privacy of the locker room, someone breaks out the energy powder, and suddenly the team talk turns into a motivational speech from a guy who definitely isn't the coach. Everybody leaves feeling invincible and slightly paranoid. Half-time in 1970s. Miami isn't rest. It's organised chaos with a side of plausible deniability. The minute the locker room door clicks shut, there's a rush for the benches. Some players peel off their jerseys, others collapse on the floor, and a few stare into space as if re-evaluating every decision that's led them here. The air is thick with sweat, steam, and the faint, sweet odour of menthol liniment mixed with, well, let's just say it's not all from the training staff. It's a scene that would make a pharmacist weep and a nightclub owner take notes. Someone produces a little plastic bag and pours its contents onto a mirror, like it's arts and crafts hour for adults with too much money. Half the team crowds around, sharing stories of hits taken, tackles missed, and the secret for staying sharp, which, in this case, is a scoop of powder and a slug of orange soda. The motivational speaker today is the backup linebacker. He stands on a bench shirtless, quoting Rocky and the US tax code with equal passion, waving a towel like it's the American flag. The actual coaches are huddled in the corner, murmuring about adjustments, but their words are drowned out by the linebacker's rousing call. We're warriors. We're invincible. Wait, is anyone else hearing helicopters? You nod, convinced he's onto something, then check the ceiling just in case. The punter hums the theme from Jaws, while the tight end lines up deodorant sticks for a quick good luck sniff. You limp over to your locker, hoping to locate your backup mouthguard, and maybe you're missing self-esteem. In the back, someone's heating up a mystery meal in the microwave, because nothing says elite athletic performance like instant ramen and powdered donuts. A couple of rookies are busy trading supplements. I'll give you 2 B-complex for 1 muscle relaxer and half a Snickers. The barter economy is thriving. A trainer walks through, clipboard in hand, eyes scanning for trouble. He sees the pile of wrappers and suspicious powder, pauses, and sighs. Just keep it off the playbook, all right? You salute with a bag of ice strapped to your ankle. Someone's phone rings, a rotary, because of course, and it's the local DJ asking if the after-party is still happening. Depends if we win, you shout back, then realise you don't actually remember what the score is. The quarterback, usually composed, has gone full motivational poster. He draws X's and O's on the whiteboard with the energy of a caffeinated kindergarten teacher, even though you're pretty sure he's diagramming a plan for ordering pizza. Nobody questions it. At halftime, belief is everything. Pain is temporary, victory is forever, and paranoia is just a sign that your energy powder is working. One teammate insists on relacing his cleats 3 times for luck. Another double-checks the playbook for secret codes, convinced the rival coach is sending signals through the Gatorade jug. As the seconds tick down, you jam your helmet back on, splash water over your face, and exchange a nod with the linebacker, who's now reciting the national anthem backwards. The team pours out of the locker room in a tidal wave of adrenaline, sugar, and questionable confidence. You're hyped, you're hopeful, and you're halfway convinced you can hear colours. The second half awaits, but you already know, whatever happens on the field, nobody will out-hustle your halftime routine. And if the little baggies run out, well, there's always next week. Facing the press is a performance art. You field questions with a smile, all the while praying nobody notices your twitching eyelid, or the fact that your nostrils are vibrating like tuning forks. The post-game press conference is the NFL's answer to show and tell, except everyone's sleep-deprived. Your suit smells like adrenaline and anxiety, and you're expected to make sense. You plop down behind a table that might as well be a witness stand. The room is filled with the aggressive glow of TV lights, the gentle hum of cameras, and the unmistakable scent of burned coffee and cheap cologne. The beat reporters sit hunched over their notepads, ready to pounce on anything that sounds remotely scandalous, while the television guys just want a sound bite that won't get bleeped. You dab sweat from your brow and try to steady your hands, but the sugar rush and whatever else is circulating in your bloodstream have other ideas. Reporters fire off questions at the speed of light, and you field them with a mixture of bravado and prayer. How do you find the energy out there in the fourth quarter? You force a smile, channel your inner motivational speaker, and say, "We just stuck to the game plan, gave it 110%, and trusted each other out there." It's the kind of answer that means absolutely nothing, and therefore can't get you fined. You hope nobody asks a follow-up. A local columnist chimes in. You looked a little fired up after that last play. What was going through your mind? You lean forward, wishing you'd worn darker sunglasses. "Just wanted to make a play for my team, you know," you reply, buying time as your brain tries to remember if you actually made the play, or just imagined it during a particularly vivid adrenaline spike. Across the room, a TV anchor tries to lighten the mood. How do you wind down after a big win like that? You flash your best media-trained professional grin, even as your knee bounces under the table. Ice bath, good meal, call my mom. Just like anybody else. If your mum ever found out what actually happened after the game, she'd send a priest. The questions keep coming, each one an obstacle course for your barely holding it together self. You deflect, redirect, and deploy every cliché in the NFL player handbook. One game at a time, all about the team. Gotta give credit to the guys up front. If they want a real answer about the nosebleed, the twitching hands, or why your post-game meal comes in both powder and liquid form, they're out of luck. You're an expert at hiding the chaos, or at least distracting from it with a well-timed laugh. At some point, the coach sits beside you, radiating "do not say anything weird" energy. He answers 3 questions with, "We're proud of the effort," and then stares you down like he's trying to communicate telepathically. You do your best not to blink in Morse code. One persistent reporter asks about next week's matchup, and you realise you have no idea who you're even playing. "We'll watch the film, trust the process, and get ready for whoever's next," you say, hoping that covers all possible scenarios, including being abducted by aliens or waking up in a different city. The presser finally wraps. You stand, legs a little unsteady, and give the assembled media a final wave. Back in the hallway, your teammates slap you on the back, half in support, half in relief that they didn't have to sit in your chair. You breathe out, feeling the pressure drop away for a minute, knowing you survived another round of questions, half-truths, and careful dodges. In 1970s Miami, the real game isn't always on the field. Sometimes it's keeping a straight face under the hot lights, telling everyone you're fine, and hoping your nose stops twitching before the highlight reel airs. Nutrition is a joke. The cafeteria serves steak and salad, but you're chasing it with energy drinks and whatever the rookie swears is natural. You consider chewing on a playbook just for the fibre. You limp through the lunch line, clutching a tray like a battlefield shield. The kitchen is full of fluorescent lighting, formica tables, and a mysterious steam that never quite matches any of the food. There's a buffet of proteins, carbs, and greens, though the broccoli looks suspiciously identical to the green beans, and both taste like disappointment. Today's special is grilled chicken that could double as a shoe insert, a mountain of rice, and a salad so wilted you swear it's experiencing the same existential crisis as your knees. Sitting down at the team table is like joining a family reunion for competitive eaters and failed chemists. The running back is mixing pre-workout powder into his mashed potatoes. The offensive line is engaged in their daily ritual, seeing who can eat the most eggs without passing out. At the end of the table, a tight end is applying hot sauce to everything, including, for reasons unknown, his milk. Conversation is a mix of food critiques and gastrointestinal complaints. The rookie insists his herbal supplement is totally legit. "My cousin's a nutritionist," he claims, while popping 3 unmarked capsules. You watch, intrigued and a little jealous, because all you've got is a multivitamin the trainer handed out with the same warning you give before lighting fireworks. Don't mix with dairy, and never on an empty stomach. Across from you, the kicker is reading the ingredients on his energy drink and pronouncing half the chemicals with more confidence than accuracy. The quarterback claims he's gone clean. He's only drinking water, black coffee, and the occasional liquid focus drops that smell suspiciously like paint thinner. You eye the condiments tray and wonder if anyone would notice if you sprinkled Metamucil on your spaghetti. Fibre is the real MVP. Lunch is a study in contrasts. You want to be healthy, but the dessert table calls like a siren. A pyramid of powdered donuts, chocolate pudding, and something labelled Jell-O that is, legally, neither. You load up your plate, rationalising that you'll run it off during practice. The trainers wander by, pretending not to see the carnage. "Eat up," one says, "but remember, no cramps on my table this afternoon." You nod, mouthful of steak, as if you have any control over your own digestive fate. Somewhere talk turns to secret weapons, teas, powders, and natural energy shots acquired from questionable sources. A linebacker shares a story about a teammate who tried a new cleanse and spent 2 hours locked in the bathroom before kickoff. Everyone laughs, but silently, you make a mental note never to trust anything that claims to detoxify in under 30 minutes. As you finish, a few brave souls start in on the laxatives. There's a whispered myth that clearing out your system improves agility. The tight end pops a tablet and winks. Better out than in. You grimace, knowing full well that better out than in could easily become your team's motto by half-time. The meal winds down with a collective groan. Plates scraped clean, everyone rises at once, some to nap, some to the trainer's room, a few already heading for the bathroom. You toss your tray, swig the dregs of your energy drink, and stuff a banana in your bag for later. The rookie offers you another pill. You politely decline, but pocket it anyway, just in case you ever need to run a marathon on 15 minutes' notice. This is lunch in 1970s Miami. Steak, salad, and a side of digestive roulette. You march out, stomach gurgling, ready for whatever comes next. In the NFL, lunch isn't just fuel, it's an adventure, a gamble, and a story you'll still be telling your doctor 20 years from now. You're supposed to be resting, but the hot tub is just another spot to compare war stories and pass around little bottles from a friend. It's like a spa day, if the spa also offered bail bonds. The locker room recovery zone is the team's oasis. If your definition of oasis involves steam, muscle aches, and the unmistakable scent of coconut oil mixed with menthol, you wander in, towel slung over one shoulder, head still buzzing from lunch and the collective hum of too much caffeine. Half the team is already soaking, bodies draped over the edge of the tub like half-melted candles. There's a stack of plastic cups nearby, and a cooler that's technically supposed to be filled with electrolyte drinks, but no one's checking IDs or ingredient lists this afternoon. As you lower yourself into the water, every bruise sings out in protest. Your hangover, which you've been holding at bay with bravado and powdered donuts, rises up for round 2. The jets blast your sore back, but nothing is strong enough to erase the memory of the linebacker's helmet connecting with your ribs, or the disco inferno you called Saturday night. This is where the real team therapy happens. Forget deep tissue massage and sports psychologists. Healing, Miami style, involves sitting shoulder to shoulder in a hot tub that's probably seen more confessions than a priest. You swap injury stories. The twisted ankle that still clicks when you walk, the mysterious bruise that's the exact shape of the rival team's logo, the epic cramp that nearly made you retire on the spot. Someone always claims they played an entire quarter on a broken toe, and everyone else nods because the truth is more flexible than a yoga instructor at sunrise. Then come the remedies. Little brown bottles and mysterious capsules passed hand to hand, each one promising something different. Faster recovery, instant relaxation, or the ability to forget you ever signed up for this sport. There's Tiger Balm, smelling strong enough to repel mosquitoes 3 states away, icy spray that feels like Arctic punishment, and the mysterious imported liniment the punter swears is legal, at least in Venezuela. The team veteran pops open a tiny bottle, offers a sip to whoever isn't currently holding a cup. For muscle tension, he says, though it could be for nerves, nausea, or just to lubricate another story. You take a swig, and it burns its way down, leaving you with the warmth of friendship, or at least mutual survival. Between rounds of toasting and toasting your aching limbs, there's always a lookout posted by the door. The trainers might claim ignorance, but even they know the difference between sports tape and the little baggies that disappear just before coach wanders in. If anyone official comes close, the bottles vanish beneath towels, and the most innocent expressions in Florida instantly materialize on a dozen faces. You soak, steam rising around you, and the talk turns philosophical. Will we remember this in 10 years? Is it possible to sweat out regret? Do you think coach suspects anything? Someone suggests the hot tub might be haunted by the ghosts of retired knees and lost championship dreams. Eventually, the trainers announce it's time for ice and stretching. Groans ripple through the water, but you climb out, skin pink, head a little lighter, and legs just wobbly enough to make you feel like you accomplished something. You towel off, hide any evidence you don't want discovered, and promise yourself, again, that next time you'll just stick to the Gatorade. You won't. Recovery in 1970s. Miami is a group activity, a test of pain tolerance and secrecy. It's a ritual as old as the game, built on stories, steam, and the absolute certainty that nobody's ever fully rested, but at least, here, you don't have to pretend otherwise. You meet with a shoe executive who's definitely not asking about your 40-yard dash. After the handshakes, you leave with a duffel bag that feels suspiciously light for containing only sneakers. Endorsement deals in 1970s, Miami are more like covert operations than business meetings. The rendezvous is set at a local steakhouse, the kind with mirrors on the ceiling and ashtrays at every table. Your agent slides into the booth first, followed by the executive, a man in a velvet blazer, gold chains, and sunglasses indoors. You've never seen him at the stadium, but he claims to have been in the footwear business since Super Bowl III. The only thing more polished than his shoes is his vocabulary of euphemisms. The meeting begins with small talk about your last game, and how athletic excellence deserves premium footwear. You nod, counting the rings on his fingers, each one large enough to finance a new set of rims for your Camaro. He slides a shoebox across the table, brand new, limited edition, just for you, my friend. He winks as he says it, as if you both know these shoes are about as exclusive as a nightclub at 4 a.m. You open the box, expecting shoes but finding a stack of business cards, a tiny bottle of cologne, and a single sneaker left foot only. The right, you're told, will be delivered once the paperwork is finalised. Paperwork, of course, means a handshake in the parking lot and a signed napkin tucked under your fries. The executive asks about your off-field interests, making sure to drop the word discretion into every other sentence. "We take care of our partners," he says, as your agent scribbles numbers on a cocktail napkin and slides it back. The shoe guy nods, then produces a duffel bag from under the table. It's zipped tight, but when you lift it, you know it's not just foam soles inside. It has the density of a Miami phone book and the aroma of fresh leather, $100 bills, and a hint of last night's cologne. Outside, the deal wraps with another handshake and a subtle reminder. Wear our shoes on TV and you'll have friends for life. Mention the other brand and, well, he doesn't finish the sentence, but the implication hovers in the humid Miami air. Back at the facility, you drop the bag in your locker, careful not to let the trainers see. The code among teammates is simple. Don't ask, don't tell, and never admit you got a pair for free. You brag about the custom arch support, knowing full well the only support you're getting is financial and possibly legal. Endorsement season is open season. Shoe companies, soft drink brands, even a guy from a health tonic startup approach you after practice, each one pitching their product as the key to immortality and a 3-point improvement in your 40-yard dash. You nod, pocket sample bottles, and promise to consider their offer. Translation: you'll wear whatever's cleanest and hope no one's taking pictures. Teammates swap stories about endorsement meetings gone wrong. Someone once got paid in casino chips. Another left a lifetime supply of mouthguards at a rest stop outside Jacksonville. The rookie brags about a local burger joint sponsoring him, which, considering his metabolism, might be a better deal than cash. The team PR rep tries to keep things above board, but even she can't track all the mystery packages arriving at the locker room. She hands you a form to fill out for tax purposes, and you do your best to make your signature legible, if not truthful. As you lace up your new limited edition sneakers, you catch your reflection in the mirror. There's a flash of pride, but mostly relief that the bag didn't burst open in the parking lot. In 1970s Miami, business is wild, endorsements are wilder, and nobody ever asks how you got those shoes, or what else you might be carrying in your duffel. Because in this city, style is everything, and plausible deniability is worth its weight in gold. As the sun goes down, you hit the clubs. Again. Disco balls spin, neon lights flash, and you end up dancing next to a famous actor, 3 realtors, and a parrot. Nobody seems to mind. In 1970s Miami, the nightlife doesn't start, it erupts. You roll out of the team van in a blur of cologne, fresh sneakers, and sunglasses you keep on long after sunset. Outside, the line stretches around the block. Inside, the bouncer greets you by name, not yours, but close enough, and you glide through a velvet rope so thick it could tow a boat. This is a place where velvet is considered a neutral colour. Platform shoes are taller than most houseplants, and the soundtrack is nothing but pure, unfiltered disco. The floor pulses under your feet like it's trying to keep up with your heart rate. You and your teammates split off, each swallowed by the crowd. The first order of business, the bar. The drinks are bright, sweet, and sometimes on fire. You order something blue and fizzy, hoping it'll take the edge off last night's hangover. The bartender pours with the confidence of a surgeon, garnishing your glass with a slice of pineapple, an umbrella, and, for good measure, something that might be edible glitter. You raise your glass, clink with a running back, and toast to tomorrow's regrets. Tonight's club is a zoo, celebrities in one corner, wannabes in the other, and the entire Miami real estate market swirling around the dance floor, sealing deals between choruses of Le Freak. A local news anchor tries to buy you a drink. The backup quarterback is in a conga line with someone who swears she's an heiress. The linebacker disappears into the VIP area and re-emerges inexplicably with a parrot on his shoulder. Nobody bats an eye. The DJ transitions from earth, wind and fire to the Bee Gees, and the crowd surges like it's the last night on earth. On the dance floor, you give in to the beat. Your moves are more enthusiasm than skill, but in Miami that's all anyone asks for. The strobe lights turn your teammates into slow-motion gladiators, each one convinced this is the night they'll discover the next big thing, musically, romantically, or just in the snack bar at 3 a.m. You lose a shoe. You find a phone number written on a cocktail napkin. You try to remember what your curfew was supposed to be. Stories unfold faster than you can count. A coach's son getting kicked out for climbing the DJ booth, a backup linebacker scoring a modelling contract, A rival team's wide receiver ordering drinks for the whole club and forgetting his wallet. You witness a celebrity meltdown, a marriage proposal, and what might be the beginnings of a new disco-inspired real estate firm, all before midnight. The parrot, now perched on the bar, seems unfazed by anything. Occasionally, someone pulls you aside to share cautionary tales. Don't trust the house special. Never bet on pool with the man in the gold suit. If the bathroom attendant asks your shoe size, just say 7.5 and walk away. You nod, making mental notes you know you'll forget by sunrise. By closing time, your ears ring, your feet ache, and your pockets are full of receipts for things you don't remember buying. You stumble out into the humid Miami night, teammates at your side, everyone glowing with sweat, glitter, and mild disbelief at their own survival. As you pile back into the cab, someone starts singing "Stayin' Alive," and it somehow feels like both a threat and a promise. You lean your head against the window, city lights streaking by, and wonder how many more nights you can live like this before the bill comes due. But that's tomorrow's problem. For now, you survived another Miami night out, intact mostly, and with just enough stories to keep the legend going one more day. You attract admirers, but nobody wants to stick around once they see your medicine cabinet. Relationships in 1970s. Miami are as stable as your heart rate, erratic, unpredictable, and usually ending in court. In this city, romance doesn't bloom, it combusts. You barely finish one date before the next one appears, drawn in by the flashing lights, the whiff of celebrity, and the fact that you're often still in partial uniform from that afternoon's game. People approach you in clubs, at the mall, even in traffic, eyes wide, hoping for a taste of your wild orbit. At first, it's thrilling. The attention feels bottomless. Compliments, phone numbers, and the occasional marriage proposal slide your way, usually scribbled on cocktail napkins or lipstick-stained receipts. But the shine wears off fast. The first dinner is candlelight, laughter, and someone explaining their zodiac sign in earnest detail. By the second date, you're already dodging questions about your nighttime vitamins and why you own more bottles of liniment than a pharmacy. The third date is either at your place or theirs, yours featuring the world's most suspiciously stocked bathroom, and theirs featuring at least one roommate who wants an autograph. You try being honest. I play football, I go out a lot. I'm really into self-care routines that may or may not require a prescription. Most people laugh, thinking you're joking. A few take you up on the party. Most drift away after discovering that your idea of romance is splitting a Gatorade and comparing knee scars. Not that you're alone in your chaos. Miami's nightlife is a parade of beautiful, ambitious, and mildly unhinged souls looking for their own story to tell. Models, aspiring actors, realtors, and disco DJs all swim in the same pool, and sometimes you realize the same apartment. Everyone has a dream, a hustle, and a past that's just a little bit fuzzy around the edges. You go on dates with people who have more side gigs than job titles and who can recite the legal definition of no contest from memory. The press isn't helpful. A slow news week means your love life is front-page material. There are rumours, headlines, and the kind of gossip that can start with, spotted at Club Copacabana, and end with sources close to the athlete say, you quickly learn to smile, say nothing, and pray your family isn't reading the lifestyle section. Your teammates swap horror stories in the hot tub. The kicker once dated a woman who turned out to be married to the team's chiropractor. The backup quarterback had a fling with someone who claimed to be an heiress, but turned out to be the cousin of a rival team's mascot. Better to keep it casual, the linebacker advises, or at least keep a lawyer on retainer. Good advice, you think, as you find yet another anonymous bouquet on your car windshield, possibly a gift, possibly a warning. It's not all chaos, though. Every once in a while you meet someone who isn't fazed by your reputation, who thinks your calluses are interesting and your flaws are just quirks. You watch bad movies, sneak out for ice cream at midnight, and imagine, for a minute, that maybe this could last. But the season ramps up, the travel gets heavier, and the demands of football plus Miami itself pull you back under. Eventually the goodbyes get easier. You learn to treasure the rare moments of quiet, the late-night phone calls that don't end in tabloid speculation, and the knowledge that even in the storm you're still standing. Maybe a little bruised, maybe a little jaded, but with enough stories to fill 3 memoirs and at least 1 courtroom transcript. In 1970s Miami, love is a contact sport, and nobody leaves the field unscathed. But at least you know how to take a hit. Behind the scenes, the real power lies with the man in the velvet suit, gold chains and Cadillac parked out front. He's at every game, every party, and somehow always knows your stats. You first spot him during your rookie season. Sunglasses at night, hair slicked back, smile just a shade too wide. No team logo, no official credentials, but he walks through the stadium like he owns the place. The security guards nod. The parking attendant salutes. You ask your teammates who he is and they just shrug. "That's the guy," someone whispers, as if the capital letters are implied. He's got connections. Every franchise in the league has a power broker, but Miami's is a legend. Nobody's sure what business he's in, except that it involves a lot of phone calls, briefcases, and favours owed. Some say he started in ticket scalping. Others swear he was a backup kicker for the Dolphins until the mob found him a better gig. All you know is, if you want something, anything, you ask the guy. Equipment mysteriously missing? He'll find it. Need a table at a fully booked restaurant for you and half the defensive line? Done. Want a motivational supplement that's not FDA approved? His trunk is a travelling pharmacy. The team front office pretends not to know him, but the truth is he's everywhere. You'll see him chatting up reporters, joking with the owner's wife, or giving the assistant coach a bear hug. He never stays long, just long enough to be seen, to collect a tip, or to drop a folded napkin in someone's jacket pocket. He speaks in code, always one step ahead. "Take care of your knees, kid. I hear you're a little low on energy. Don't worry, Miami has plenty." You get the feeling he knows your bench press stats, your favourite nightclub, and your mother's maiden name. At parties, he's the social glue. You walk in, and he's already holding court, a crowd of realtors, models, and ex-athletes orbiting his gravitational field. His drink never empties, his shoes never scuff, and his laugh is just a bit too loud. The bouncers at the hottest club step aside. The DJ announces his arrival like a king returning to the palace. He's the reason your team never waits in line, or sometimes the reason you have to leave early through the back door. He's the fixer. Need bail money? Call the guy. Want a bag that's a little more party than protein powder? He knows a guy who knows a guy. More than once you've watched a panicked rookie whisper in his ear, and 20 minutes later, a minor scandal evaporates like morning fog over Biscayne Bay. You're never sure what the price will be. Sometimes it's as simple as a photo op. Sometimes it's wearing a certain brand of sunglasses at the press conference, or making an appearance at a charity event that turns out to be a front for something far stranger. A word of advice from the veterans. If the guy hands you an envelope, don't open it until you're at least 2 counties away. Rumours swirl he's working for the owner, for the mob, for the league, for himself. Maybe all at once. You keep your head down and your mouth shut. On payday, he always seems to know exactly what's coming in your check, and when the IRS asks questions, you wish you'd never even learned his name. But there's no denying his importance. In the NFL ecosystem, coaches and players may run the game, but the guy runs everything else. He's the whisper behind the trade rumours, the reason your shoes fit, the one who makes sure the cops look the other way on Sunday morning. In 1970s Miami, the chain of command goes owner, coach, quarterback, and somewhere above them all, the man in the velvet suit with a Cadillac full of secrets. And as you lace up for another wild night, or morning, you remind yourself, in this city, it's not about who scores the points, it's about who holds the playbook nobody ever sees. Away games are an exercise in logistics and creative smuggling. You sleep through team meetings, wake up in new cities, and wonder if your luggage will get searched for footballs or pharmaceuticals. It starts at the airport. You and the team march in like an army of duffel bags and questionable fashion choices, tracksuits in colours not found in nature, sunglasses big enough to serve as blackout curtains, and enough gold chains to set off every metal detector between Miami and Detroit. The coaches move in formation, clutching clipboards and muttering about curfews, while the trainers herd you toward the correct gate, doing a head count like teachers on a field trip for overgrown children with expensive dental work. The airline staff eyes you warily. Some recognise your face from TV, others from last week's incident with the lost carry-on full of pre-workout powder. You try to look innocent, which never works. Your carry-on is a Tetris of snacks, knee braces, and whatever you couldn't fit in your checked bag, usually something for recovery that's technically legal, depending on the state. Once airborne, the ritual begins. The offensive line commandeers the first row, instantly reclining their seats and challenging anyone to arm wrestling over the aisle. The defensive backs are already napping with noise-cancelling headphones, while the rookie is busy making friends with the flight attendants in hopes of scoring extra cookies. You try to sleep, but your body is still running on last night's adrenaline and club lighting, so you settle for staring out the window at clouds that look suspiciously like your team doctor. At 30,000 feet, everything is fair game. Some guys trade crossword puzzles, others swap supplements in plain sight, confident nobody will question a 6'3" linebacker's need for a mysterious pill at 7 a.m. The quarterback watches film on a tiny screen, jotting notes that will get lost before landing. The kicker is reading a book on meditation, but you catch him sneaking sips from a tiny bottle tucked in his sock. Layovers are another story. Half the team disappears into airport bars, emerging only when boarding is called with new souvenirs, mystery snacks, and at least one fresh story about a lost wallet or chance encounter with a business opportunity. You kill time swapping rumours about opposing teams, making up legends about the cities you're about to visit. Did you know Denver's altitude will shrink your cleats? And searching your own bags for that one energy bar you were sure you packed. Arrival is always a blur. You wake up with a crick in your neck and someone else's headphones tangled in your hair. The team hustles through baggage claim, coaches barking at you to move faster. Every trip, someone's luggage goes missing, usually the rookie's, always containing something incriminating. You grab your duffel, do a quick inventory, and pray the customs officers never ask about the bottles labelled herbal supplement in your sock drawer. Buses ferry you to hotels that all look the same, generic art, floral bedspreads, and the lingering scent of institutional cleaning products. Your roommate is already sprawled on one of the beds, TV blaring a rerun of some old game. You flop onto the other bed, grateful for 5 minutes of silence before the next round of meetings, walkthroughs, or mandatory team bonding at a local steakhouse with lighting dim enough to hide the exhaustion in everyone's eyes. You survive another travel day. Your stomach's full of airplane peanuts. Your brain is a mix of game plans and jet lag, and your suitcase somehow still smells like the Miami locker room. Tomorrow you'll play in front of a hostile crowd, on a field that feels foreign, against a team just as tired as you. But tonight, you'll drift off in a strange bed, listening to the hum of the air conditioner and the snores of your roommate, hoping your suitcase and your secrets made it through airport security one more time. One day, you're called in for a surprise drug test, and suddenly it's like a murder mystery dinner, except everyone already knows who did it. Time to invent a new story about your sinus infection. The summons comes early, just as you're tucking into a breakfast donut and considering the philosophical implications of orange juice as a performance enhancer. A trainer in a windbreaker appears at your elbow, voice lowered like he's telling you state secrets. Coach wants to see you. Bring your playbook and, a urine sample. The room falls silent. Everyone's eyes dart around, searching for clues. The veteran kicker whistles softly, the backup linebacker coughs into his sleeve, and the rookie immediately drops his spoon into his cereal. You get up, heart pounding, and make your way to the trainer's office. It's amazing how quickly the locker room camaraderie transforms into the world's least subtle espionage operation. On the way, teammates suddenly develop urgent business elsewhere, taping ankles, checking the laundry, or just staring at the floor and pretending to do long division in their heads. You pass the punter, who gives you a look that says, "Good luck, comrade," and slides a bottle of cranberry juice your way. "It's for hydration," he mutters. You both know better. Inside the office, the testing process feels more theatrical than medical. There's a clipboard, a plastic cup, and a supervisor who looks like he hasn't smiled since the Nixon administration. You do your best to look calm and healthy. Just a little under the weather, Doc. Sinuses, you know how it is. He grunts, makes a note, and gestures for you to proceed. You think back to all the advice you've been given for moments like this. Drink lots of water. Think pure thoughts. Remember that story about the guy who tried to pass off Gatorade as a urine sample and ended up with a test result for neon tangerine. You recall the lineman who swore by vinegar, the receiver who tried green tea, and the one memorable incident involving a bottle, a friend in the bathroom, and a handshake nobody wants to remember. Back in the main room, the tension is thick. Everyone knows that random isn't random, not really. It's always after a big win, or a wild night, or when the league's rumour mill starts churning out stories faster than your metabolism. The assistant coach stands by the door, pretending to check his phone, but really watching for anyone making a break for the exit. You hand over your sample, trying to project the air of someone who spent the night studying the playbook and drinking only herbal tea. The supervisor caps it, labels it, and gives you a look that's equal parts pity and suspicion. "We'll let you know," he says, as if you're waiting on college acceptance letters instead of lab results. The rest of the day is a blur of speculation and nervous laughter. The team divides into two camps: the I'm clean, nothing to fear crowd, and the how fast can I Google detox tips before my phone battery dies crew. Old war stories fly, about the guy who managed to pass a test after an all-night bender, or the legend of the running back whose sample came back labelled inconclusive and was never seen again. By the next morning, the test results filter in. Sometimes it's a slap on the wrist, sometimes a stern lecture, sometimes just an extra Gatorade in your locker and a reminder to be smart. You breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that for today at least, you survived another round of the NFL's least favourite parlour game, and as you rejoin your teammates, you can't help but laugh. In 1970s Miami, football is a sport but passing a random drug test. That's an art form. You and your teammates form a tight circle, bound by shared secrets, wild nights, and the knowledge that nobody's innocent. Trust is earned in ounces and lost in headlines. On paper, you're brothers in arms. In reality, you're brothers in excuses. The locker room is less a sports facility than a secret society where everyone's got a story and nobody ever tells the whole truth. You know who snores, who hides the best snacks, and who can convincingly fake an ankle sprain if the coach comes sniffing around. You share everything, from adrenaline and aspirin to whispered rumours about who's dating the owner's niece. There's a code. What happens in Miami stays in Miami, or at the very least doesn't make the front page unless someone gets arrested twice in 1 week. You look out for each other. When someone's late to practice, you cover for them. He's in the cold tub, coach. When a rookie forgets his cleats, someone borrows a spare pair from the equipment room and nobody asks questions. And if anyone actually shows up for a voluntary workout on a Saturday morning, the group stages an intervention. Over pancakes. Every teammate tells. The defensive tackle always scratches his chin when he's making up a story. The wide receiver can't meet your eyes after a night out. The backup quarterback has 3 different aliases, one for each credit card he maxes out at the club. You all laugh about it, but there's an edge to the humour, a silent pact that covers for more than just missing curfew. There are levels to trust. On the field, you trust the lineman to block, the safety to help over the top, and the kicker to at least try. Off the field, trust gets murkier. Who will keep your secrets? Who will help you make bail or at least bring a change of clothes to the precinct? You know who can be counted on for a loan, and who'll borrow your car and return it a quart low and smelling like coconut air freshener and regret. Nights out are a team sport. Everyone piles into the same taxis, orders the same rounds and tells the same stories, embellished every time, of course. If someone gets tossed from the club, the rest debate whether it was deserved and then leave a tip for the bouncer. You might not remember how the night started, but you'll always have someone to piece together the ending, or at least swear you were with them the whole time. When the press comes calling, everyone's suddenly a genius in plausible deniability. No comment. I don't remember. We were just celebrating the win. You trade headlines like baseball cards, and when one of your own lands in hot water, the group rallies. Alibis rehearsed, stories matched, silence coordinated with the skill of a 2-minute drill. Every so often, cracks appear. A betrayal, a leak, a text sent to the wrong group chat. Trust gets tested. Sometimes it breaks. You learn quickly. Forgiveness is easier after a win. A fight in practice is forgotten by the next day. But a rumour in the tabloids lingers, a shadow over the next team meeting. Yet despite it all, the bond holds. Through hangovers, heartbreaks, and the kind of bad decisions that could fill their own highlight reel, you stick together. Because no one else in the world understands the madness of 1970s Miami football like the guys who live it with you. The brotherhood isn't perfect, but it's real. A patchwork of loyalty, blackmail, and just enough forgiveness to make it all work. And in the end, as the lights go down and the stories grow wilder, you know this. You may not trust each other with your bank pin, but you trust each other with your secrets. And in this team, that's the only currency that matters. After every win or loss, Sunday night is reserved for hangovers, takeout food, and existential dread. You clutch your playbook, swear you'll clean up next week and fall asleep to the sound of distant sirens. Victory doesn't feel like champagne and confetti, it feels like bruised ribs, cottonmouth, and the creeping suspicion you said something deeply unwise to a reporter. The adrenaline is gone. The noise has faded, and all you're left with is a body held together by ice packs and adrenaline flashbacks. lounging on a couch that smells like liniment and broken promises. The team group chat is quiet for once. Even the loudmouths have gone dark, probably sleeping off their egos or recovering in someone's hot tub. You scroll through highlights on the local sports channel, watching yourself in slow motion. That touchdown pass, the awkward high five, the moment you realised mid-celebration that your helmet was on backward. There's a pizza box on the table. At least it used to be pizza. Now it's just crusts and grease stains and a reminder that your diet started last Monday and immediately surrendered. Next to it sits your hydration station, half a bottle of sports drink, an unopened can of beer, and a cup of water you've been meaning to drink since noon. You sip the water like it's penance. Physically, you're wrecked. Emotionally, somewhere between guilt and denial. You try to review plays, flipping through the playbook like it holds the answers to life, when all it really holds is proof you should have cut left on second down. You tell yourself you'll do better. You tell yourself this is the week you quit everything. The clubs, the powdered donuts, maybe even that sketchy vitamin spray. You lie. Outside, sirens howl. Somewhere in Miami, someone else is having a worse night, or a better one, depending on their tolerance for chaos. Inside, the TV drones on about turnovers, penalties, and whether your team has what it takes. You turn the volume down and pretend you didn't just get name-dropped as inconsistent but promising. That's basically a compliment, right? You check your phone again. One missed call from someone labelled "Don't Answer", 2 texts from a number you don't recognise, had fun last night, and an email from the team nutritionist titled "Please Stop". You set the phone down like it might explode. Eventually, you limp to the bathroom and stare at yourself in the mirror. Bloodshot eyes, taped fingers, a bruise blooming on your collarbone. You look like someone who got in a fight with a vending machine and lost. You brush your teeth because you have to cling to some kind of structure. As you do, you replay every moment from the game that didn't go perfectly, and by now, that's most of them. There's something weirdly holy about Sunday nights in the NFL. Not the stadium lights, not the crowds, but this. The aftermath, the quiet, the hum of your ceiling fan, the ache in your shoulders that says you survived again. You don't know how long you can keep doing this, but you know you'll try. Because deep down, beneath the soreness and the scandal and the leftover fries, you still love it. The game, the grind, the drama. You crawl into bed without showering because your legs have unionized against standing. The sheets feel cold against your skin. Somewhere outside, a car backfires or someone celebrates or both. You stare at the ceiling and whisper a prayer not for glory or fame or wins, but for a morning where your knees don't sound like bubble wrap. This is the Sunday comedown. Brutal, honest, and weirdly peaceful. You made it through the madness again, and just like that, you're asleep before your regrets can say goodnight. The Miami crowd loves you until you fumble or show up in the news for something alleged. You sign autographs at the mall, try to dodge awkward questions, and pretend your nosebleed is just from the humidity. Fame, in 1970s Florida, is less a reward and more a full-contact sport. One day you're the hero on the cover of the Miami Herald, smiling under stadium lights. The next, you're being chased through a Publix by a woman who insists you signed her cast in 1974 and promised to call. She has the cast to prove it. You don't remember the cast or her, but you smile, nod, and sign again, just in case she owns a camera or a lawyer. Fans in Miami aren't just enthusiastic, they're forensic. They know your stats, your shoe size, and the last 3 addresses you've lived at. They show up to practices with scrapbooks, baby photos of you that even your mum doesn't have, and theories about your diet that involve astrology, voodoo, or both. One guy insists your slump in October is due to Mercury retrograde. You don't know what that means, but now you're vaguely afraid of Thursdays. You go to the mall for new shoes and leave with 17 autographs signed, 3 gift bags, and a mental breakdown. Someone's always watching. Even the mannequins seem to be judging your hair. Kids ask for your jersey number. Adults ask if the rumours are true. You pretend not to hear, but your ears burn with every whispered allegedly. And then there are the superfans. One lady knits you a scarf in team colours. You thank her. 2 days later, she's at your condo complex claiming to be your nutritionist. Another man offers to be your spiritual coach. You say no. He mails you a VHS tape anyway, titled "Winning Through Vibration." You never watch it, but the box buzzes when you shake it. After a good game, you're a god. Strangers pay for your lunch. Bartenders give you the athlete's pour, which is just a regular pour but served with a wink and a reminder to keep it under 10 miles per hour leaving the parking lot. You take photos, shake hands, and try not to inhale the celebratory cigars that materialize out of nowhere. After a bad game, it's different. The stares are longer, colder. Someone calls your fumble a betrayal to the city. A teenager flips you off from a passing scooter. A barista spells your name wrong on purpose. You tell yourself it's just a phase. You also start wearing hats indoors. Of course, Miami isn't short on distractions. There's always another celebrity scandal or bizarre crime to pull focus. A linebacker gets caught in a love triangle with a talk show host and a stolen yacht. A rival quarterback is arrested for fighting a mime. By comparison, your little tabloid moment, getting escorted out of a disco with no shoes and an inflatable swan, barely moves the needle. Still, the line between fame and infamy is razor thin, and you're dancing on it in cleats. You learn to keep your stories straight, your sunglasses on, and your smile just vague enough to be legally non-committal. You practice giving interviews where you say nothing at all. We gave it our all out there. Just got to stay focused, one game at a time, while secretly wondering if the lady from the cast is still following you. In 1970s Miami, fame isn't something you have. It's something that stalks you through the produce aisle. You survive it the same way you survive the game. Keep moving, keep smiling, and hope nobody notices you ducking out the back door. And if they do, just say it was the humidity. It always is. It's all fun and games until the FBI shows up. Suddenly the party crowd scatters, and you're left explaining why your roommate is hiding in the pool with a duffel bag. In Miami, the line between nightlife and organised crime is thin. Hairline thin. Like, you can snort it off a coffee table thin. What starts as a casual house party, a few teammates, some models, a parrot named Randy, quickly turns into a who's who of Miami's most wanted. You didn't plan it that way. Nobody plans for federal agents to arrive mid-toast. It begins with a knock at the door. A firm, rhythmic knock, too confident to be a neighbour, too early to be the pizza guy. You crack it open and see two men in suits, badges already in hand. They say federal investigation, and your brain immediately starts scrubbing recent memories like a mob cleaner with a deadline. Was it the supplemental powders? The mysterious envelope from the guy? The incident with the dolphin mascot and the borrowed speedboat? You stall. Is this about my taxes? It's not. They ask to come in. You say you're not sure it's a good time. Behind you, someone screams, "Hide the flamingo!" And it's very clear you've lost control of the situation. Your teammates scatter like roaches in a stadium locker room when the lights come on. One dives behind the couch, another disappears into the linen closet. Your roommate, who you're now 70% sure is not his own legal name, jumps into the backyard pool clutching a duffel bag so tightly you wonder if it contains cash, contraband, or just his emotional baggage. The agents remain calm. This isn't their first athlete-adjacent shindig. They start asking questions. Casual ones. Do you know a man named El Gato? Have you ever accepted gifts valued over $10,000 from anyone without a last name? Can you explain why there are 5 microwaves stacked in your garage? You nod politely and pretend to think, hoping to delay them long enough for someone to flush the evidence, or at least offer the agents a mimosa. One of them picks up your playbook. Big game next week. You try to steer the conversation toward football. Oh yeah, we've been working on some new formations. He flips a page and raises an eyebrow. This one's labelled Operation Flaming Sword. You grab it back, muttering something about team strategy and creative naming. Meanwhile, the roommate resurfaces from the pool, gasping like a man reborn. "They're gone?" he whispers, still clutching the soggy duffel. You make frantic eye contact and mime "stay down," but it's too late. One of the agents calmly turns to him and says, "Nice evening for a swim. You're not arrested." Not exactly. You're brought in for questioning, which is like a field trip but with fluorescent lighting and less juice boxes. You spend the next few hours in a room answering increasingly strange questions. Do you know where this photo was taken? You do not. Is this your handwriting? Debatable. Is Randy the parrot licensed? Now that one surprises you. Eventually, you're released. No charges, just pending investigation, which sounds suspiciously like code for "we're watching you." You go home to find the party guests long gone, the stereo still playing Bee Gees on loop, and Randy asleep on the kitchen faucet. You sit down, dripping in sweat and anxiety, and wonder how your life became a deleted scene from Scarface, the sitcom. You pour yourself a glass of Gatorade and toast to surviving another Miami evening, without ending up in federal custody, or worse, the evening news. In 1970s Miami, the law doesn't knock, it shows up wearing aviators, and if you're lucky, you just make it to practice the next day with a great story and minimal paperwork. Eventually the music stops, your body is battered, and your bank account is empty, and your story is a cautionary tale for the ages. But if you're lucky, you wake up one more time, just grateful to be alive, and maybe, just maybe, ready to tell your story. You never notice the end creeping in. It doesn't announce itself with a bang, just a soft, persistent ache in your knee that never quite goes away. The roar of the crowd dims, the nightclub lines feel longer, the high, chemical, emotional, or ego-driven, stops lasting quite as long, and then one day you lace up your cleats and feel a pause. Not the usual exhaustion, something deeper, something final. Your name starts slipping off the headlines, replaced by rookies with faster feet and less mileage. The fans who used to chant for you now glance at you sideways, wondering if you're that guy from the poster, or just someone who kind of looks like him. Even the trainers start treating you differently, more like a relative than a weapon. You don't need to go full speed today, they say gently, and you nod. Not because you agree, but because full speed left the building 2 seasons ago. You spend more time in the cold tub than on the field. Your phone doesn't buzz as much. The parties keep happening, but somehow you're not always invited. Or maybe you just stop going. When you do show up, people greet you like a ghost, someone who once lived a wild, beautiful life, but now mostly talks about it in past tense. The bank account takes its own dive. Turns out a steady diet of luxury cars, investment opportunities, and bar tabs the size of rent checks isn't a sustainable financial plan. You start seeing your old jerseys sold at vintage shops, usually next to lava lamps and VHS tapes. You overhear someone call you retro, and it stings more than the tackles ever did. But not all of it fades. Some memories stick. The good ones. The wild ones. The nights you can't believe you survived. The brotherhood. The stadium lights. The moments that made it all feel worth it. You remember the touchdowns, sure, but also the bus rides. The locker room laughs. The sheer, ridiculous joy of being young, invincible, and just unhinged enough to believe it would never end. Eventually you settle somewhere quiet. Not necessarily peaceful, but quieter. The air's a little easier to breathe. The headaches come less often. You trade the powdered breakfast for actual food. You delete half the names in your phone and keep the few that matter. And if you're lucky, really lucky, you find someone who wasn't there for the glory, who helps you clean up the mess, who listens without judgment when you say, "I thought I was going to die." You learn to live without the noise. You stop chasing the next rush. You wake up not in a club or a stranger's guest room, but in your own place, with clean sheets and silence. You make your coffee, you open a window, you remind yourself you're still here. And sometimes people ask for your story. Not the sanitized version, but the real one, the highs, the horrors, the heartbreak. You tell it slowly because you've learned that the truth is heavy, but you tell it. Because if someone else hears it, maybe they'll know it's okay to stop, to breathe, to walk away with your bones still intact and your soul not entirely scorched. In 1970s Miami, you burned bright, maybe too bright, but now, finally, you're just trying to glow a little. No headlines, no sirens, just a second chance and a quieter kind of fame, the kind you earn by staying alive. Nutritionists would have wept if they saw your pre-game meal. A triple cheeseburger, fries, a warm beer, and a little nose candy for dessert, because the only thing balanced about your diet is the salt on your margarita rim. You marvel at your metabolism, knowing it's probably being studied by NASA and the Miami-Dade Forensics Lab. Food in the 1970s NFL wasn't fuel. It was tradition, self-expression, and occasionally evidence. You didn't eat to optimize performance. You ate to survive your hangover, silence your stomach, and keep the locker room from staging an intervention. The team meal plan was an unspoken agreement. If it's hot, edible, and won't make you fail a drug test by itself, it counts. You start the day with a breakfast that would horrify modern sports science. 2 eggs, burned toast, bacon crisped into charcoal, and a questionable smoothie your teammate swears is just protein and rum. The trainer sees you and raises an eyebrow. You shrug. It's fruit-based. He sighs and walks away muttering about vitamin deficiencies and lawsuits. Lunch is no better. The team cafeteria is stocked with all the staples: pasta, meatballs, mystery stew, and enough salt to age-cure a ham. You skip the salad bar. It's decorative. You grab 2 cheeseburgers, a side of fries, and what might be a pickled egg. The offensive line swears by this stuff. They say it gives them grip strength. You don't ask questions. You just hope whatever's in the sauce doesn't glow under a black light. Supplements? Oh, there are supplements. Not the kind with labels or approvals or dosage guidelines. The nutrition section of your locker contains a bottle of B-complex vitamins, 3 kinds of energy pills, and a pouch of powdered mystery that someone brought back from Mexico. You take it all with orange soda, because hydration is a suggestion, not a mandate. Coaches don't interfere. They've seen worse. One guy once ate 3 chili dogs and a cupcake before kickoff, then scored 2 touchdowns. Another drank nothing but milk and gin on game days, claiming it soothed the nerves and the ulcers. The strength coach recommends peanut butter, but you suspect that's just because he has stock in a jar company. The night before games is the real danger zone. You should be resting. You should be loading up on complex carbs and lean protein. Instead, you're deep into a steak the size of a car battery, washing it down with tequila and something a teammate calls liquid lightning. You don't ask what's in it. You just chase it with a breadstick and pray. By game day, your stomach is a war zone. You eat what you can, a banana maybe, or half a muffin that someone sat on in the bus. You chew gum to trick your brain into thinking you're fueled. One guy is snorting pre-workout off a clipboard. Another is eating cold spaghetti with his hands. There is no logic, only rituals. Somehow, your body keeps going. It's not nutrition, it's inertia. Decades from now, medical students will look at footage of your metabolism and write theses titled, "How is he still alive?" Your blood sugar is a roller coaster. Your digestive tract has seen things, but you're still standing, still scoring, still grinning through a mouthguard that smells vaguely of onion rings and danger. In 1970s Miami, there was no keto, no macros, no gluten-free performance fuel. There was grease, grit, and just enough controlled substances to qualify as a chemical experiment. And you were the guinea pig that never stopped running. Because back then, game prep didn't mean clean eating. It meant surviving whatever you fed yourself the night before kickoff. And honestly, you kind of miss it. Salt, sugar, scandal, and a side of fries. Practice moves outdoors, and you are instantly blinded by the Miami sun reflecting off every windshield, gold chain, and teammate's forehead. Your arms and nose turn a brilliant lobster red, but your sunglasses remain glued to your face, even in the team photo. At this point, you don't remember what natural skin color looks like. There's a myth that professional athletes train in elite conditions, air-conditioned facilities, climate-controlled domes, perfectly hydrated turf. Not in 1970s Miami. Here, the sun doesn't shine, it attacks. The moment you step onto the practice field, you feel like a rotisserie chicken on a slow spin cycle. Your jersey clings to your body like it owes you money. Your socks trap heat like nuclear reactors, and your helmet turns into a wearable oven. You squint through the glare, only to realize it's not even 10 a.m. The humidity has already wrapped itself around your lungs like a damp towel. Someone left a water bottle on the turf and it's now boiling. The trainers hand out sunscreen like it's war paint, but most of the guys skip it because greasy hands kill ball security. What actually kills ball security is temporary blindness from sunlight bouncing off your teammate's belt buckle. By mid-practice, your forearms have gone from golden to alarming. Your nose has developed its own zip code, and your tan lines look like a failed geometry project. Your sunglasses stay on, not because of fashion, though you do look fantastic, but because without them, your eyes would shrivel into raisins. You've worn them for so many consecutive days that people are beginning to forget what your face looks like without them. A rookie once asked if they were surgically implanted. The turf radiates heat like it's being powered by the devil's tanning bed. Every time you take a knee, it feels like kneeling on a stovetop. One guy's cleats start to melt. The kicker swears he hallucinated a mirage of a slushy stand just beyond the end zone. You believe him. You start seeing it too. You try to hydrate, but the Gatorade is the temperature of soup, and the water cooler ran out after the lineman treated it like a kiddie pool. Even the footballs are sweaty. You fumble a pass and blame it on thermal distortion, which sounds smart enough to deflect criticism. The coach just grunts and rubs more zinc oxide on his ears. During breaks, guys gather in the sliver of shade cast by the equipment shed, all 20 of you crammed into a patch the size of a doormat. The defensive backs are shirtless, comparing tan lines like war wounds. The linebacker has wrapped a towel around his neck like he's reenacting Lawrence of Arabia. You try dabbing your face with a towel, but it's already soaked with the sweat of at least 3 other teammates. You use it anyway. Hygiene is optional in the Miami heat, and yet you keep going. Drills, sprints, scrimmage. You move like a sun-dazed lizard, running plays you barely remember, and sweating out everything you've eaten since Thursday. By the time practice ends, your jersey has fused with your torso and your legs feel like boiled noodles. You peel off your socks and discover an entirely new ecosystem forming in your cleats. Back in the locker room, you catch your reflection. Your face is 2 shades darker than your neck. Your arms are striped from where your sweatbands slid down, and somehow your tan stops abruptly at your collarbone, making you look like a gradient sample chart for sun exposure. You survived. Barely. Another day practicing under the Miami sun, where the weather is aggressive, the grass is lava, and SPF 50 is just a suggestion. But hey, at least your sunglasses tan is finally symmetrical. Victory. Kind of. Between games, you hustle a little extra on the side, advertising running shoes, disco records, or sometimes just your autograph, as long as nobody asks about your performance boosters. Commercial shoots are a blur of bad lighting, fake smiles, and managers whispering, "Let's try that again, but less sweaty." In the 1970s, endorsement deals aren't just a perk, they're survival. Your paycheck may say NFL, but half of your income comes from things you never trained for: clone ads, energy drinks that taste like battery fluid, and signing bootleg posters in a bowling alley parking lot. You've done autograph sessions in shopping malls, car dealerships, and one truly haunting event at a seafood buffet. You don't ask questions anymore, you just grab the Sharpie and smile. The sneaker contracts are the big prize. You sit across from a marketing guy in a velvet blazer who promises you'll be the face of speed, while also handing you prototype shoes that feel like they were stitched together by blindfolded raccoons. You lace them up, jog in place for the camera, and try not to wince. The ad agency is thrilled. You look fast, but also approachable, like someone who could sell shoes and maybe also fix a carburetor. The commercial is worse. You film in a warehouse that someone tried to make look like a gym. There's fog. There's a smoke machine that triggers your allergies. You're asked to sprint toward the camera and say the line, "Speed starts here," with conviction. You do 17 takes. Each one is sweatier. A guy with a headset hands you a towel and whispers, "They love the natural look. Just try not to drip on the mic." Sometimes they ask for action shots. You're wearing shorts 2 sizes too small and a mesh tank top running fake drills while a director yells, "More intensity!" from behind a folding chair. You dive for a ball, you miss. A boom mic catches your profanity in crystal clear stereo. "We'll fix it in post," someone says. You never find out if they did. After the shoot, you're ushered into a room for brand alignment. This means sitting with executives who ask how you embody the spirit of the product. You resist the urge to say, "I run fast and have nice calves." Instead, you nod thoughtfully and mutter something about discipline, dedication, and teamwork, all while your stomach growls from skipping lunch. Someone claps. You think you passed. The weirder deals come later. A soda company wants you to pose next to a vending machine. A frozen food brand sends you 6 crates of microwavable lasagna and says, "Just post something organic." You once did a promo for a disco compilation album, even though you can't dance and your favourite record is mostly just whale noises. And of course, there's always the question nobody asks out loud. Are you really that fast? Or is it supplemental speed? You laugh it off, change the subject, pull out a bottle of mystery vitamins and say, "These? Just for hydration." Everyone smiles and nods. Nobody believes you, but the cameras keep rolling. Eventually the check clears. You cash it immediately. You don't ask why it's signed by a shell company or delivered in an envelope that smells like cologne and secrecy. You buy a new gold chain, maybe a boat you can't legally register, and pretend your financial advisor isn't just your cousin with a calculator watch. Because in 1970s Miami, fame isn't just about touchdowns, it's about how well you can fake sincerity while holding a shoe. And if you squint just right, you do kind of look like a guy who believes in performance footwear and moral flexibility. Congratulations, you're not just an athlete, you're a brand. A sweaty, slightly paranoid brand. But hey, your commercial airs next Tuesday, right after Wheel of Fortune. The team brings in a sports psychologist, but you mostly use the sessions to nap or fish around in the couch for loose change or lost amphetamines. Talking about your feelings sounds suspiciously like admitting you're tired, so you just nod, stare at a lava lamp and hope the doc doesn't notice your eye twitch. It's the 1970s. Therapy isn't therapy, it's a trend. And in Miami, it's somewhere between a tax write-off and a team PR stunt. The sports psychologist they bring in wears a corduroy blazer, smells like patchouli, and opens every session by asking how you feel in your chakras. You don't know what a chakra is, but you're pretty sure yours are either misaligned or entirely missing. You sit on a faded leather couch that squeaks like it's protesting your secrets. A lava lamp gurgles in the corner. There's a macrame owl on the wall and a bowl of unwrapped mints that you're 90% sure have been here since the Nixon administration. The doc gestures for you to settle in and create a safe space. You respond by pulling your hoodie over your head and pretending to meditate. He asks questions softly, patiently, in the tone of someone who once hugged a tree for too long. Do you feel pressure to perform? How do you handle expectations? Are you happy or just chemically confident? You respond with grunts, shrugs, and a quick glance at the clock. You'd rather be lifting weights or running drills or getting a cortisone shot in your hip from someone with a mullet and a steady hand. Halfway through the session, you start checking between the cushions. Not for answers, those are clearly not coming, but for the tiny pill someone swore they lost during last week's team building exercise. You find a nickel, a stick of gum, and what may have once been a sour candy. You pocket all three. Wins are wins. The doc asks you to breathe deeply. You do, mostly to stall. Let the tension leave your body, he says, while your left leg bounces like it's on a caffeine bender. He suggests journaling. You suggest bench pressing your feelings. He doesn't laugh. He hands you a feelings wheel like an emotional colour chart. You stare at it like it's written in hieroglyphics. He circles anxious. You circle hungry. Compromise. At one point he asks if you ever feel disconnected from yourself. You reply, only after practice, parties, or any meal involving seafood. He writes that down. You silently wonder if this will end up in your file, your future biography, or the next awkward team meeting where someone reads your poetry out loud. Some guys lean in. The kicker talks about dreams. The linebacker opens up about his dad. The punter cries quietly every week, which you find oddly soothing. You start wondering if maybe, just maybe, this whole talking thing isn't total nonsense. But just as you begin to form a sentence about your own spiraling confidence, the doc says, let's pause there. Time's up. You're saved by the clock or doomed by it. You leave the office calmish, walking past your teammates in line like war buddies exiting a foxhole. Nobody makes eye contact, but there's a kind of respect, unspoken, awkward, very macho. The nod of men who've collectively lied to a professional with a clipboard. Because in 1970s Miami, therapy is less about healing and more about surviving. It's a weekly ritual, equal parts confession, confusion, and caffeine withdrawal. You never say much, but somehow you always leave feeling lighter. Or maybe that's just the couch finally giving up and swallowing the rest of your change. Either way, you'll be back next week. Probably. Eventually your body starts to protest. Knees crack, shoulders ache, and your autograph suddenly includes a "Do you want fries with that?" You start fielding calls from reality shows, energy drink startups, and one guy who insists you'd be perfect for selling blenders on late-night TV. You consider it, at least the blenders don't require drug tests. Retirement doesn't come with confetti. It comes with cortisone injections and a silent phone. One day you're taking snaps under stadium lights, and the next you're filling out a "Where are they now?" interview next to a guy who once got ejected for tackling a ref. There's no ceremony, no graceful exit, just your name slowly sliding off the roster and into the trivia section of someone's bar bet. At first, you deny it. You tell yourself you've got one more season, one more run, one more shot. But your joints say otherwise. Your back sounds like a popcorn machine. Your foot refuses to bend past Tuesday, and every morning it takes you 6 full steps just to remember which leg is real and which one is rage. The interviews start rolling in. Not the serious kind, no one's inviting you on 60 Minutes. These are the fun ones. Local radio, college blogs, podcasts hosted by guys in their mum's basement who want to talk about that time you allegedly fought a mascot. You smile, you nod, and you desperately try to steer the conversation away from your current net worth. You go on TV once, morning news. You wear a borrowed suit and talk about giving back to the community. They run your old highlight reel while your knee throbs in the chair. During the break, the host asks if the cocaine stories were true. You laugh. He doesn't. You never get asked back. That's when the calls start. We're launching a new hydration supplement. Think Gatorade, but more illegal. We're rebooting a fitness tape from the 80s and want you to wear spandex. Have you ever considered being the face of a Florida-based cologne line called Aggression? You say no at first, but then the bills pile up. You take one gig, a blender commercial, filmed in a warehouse in Fort Lauderdale with lighting so bad it makes you look like a cautionary tale. You have one line, "This baby'll tear through anything." You say it with a smile. On take 37, the director shouts, "Cut!" and you realise you're now officially a pitchman for kitchenware. Somewhere your younger self is weeping. There are other ventures, a podcast that lasts 3 episodes, a restaurant that never gets past the permit stage, a signature clothing line that turns out to be just bedazzled tank tops, and a logo your cousin made in MS Paint. You consider a memoir but forget most of the good stories or realise they'd require legal disclaimers. And still, through it all, there's the ache. Not just the one in your spine, but the one in your gut, the ache of not being part of it anymore. No more locker room chaos, no more game day buzz, no more purpose wrapped in pads and whistles, so you adjust. Slowly, you learn to stretch, to walk without limping, to drink coffee instead of chugging mysterious energy syrup. You even visit a school once, talk to kids about choices. One kid asks if you were the guy who tackled his uncle at a car dealership. You dodge the question. Retirement, in the 1970s, doesn't come with a pension. It comes with scars, VHS tapes, and a slightly melted trophy that now holds pens. But somehow, you're still here, standing, smiling, selling blenders, and maybe, just maybe, that's still a kind of victory. So here you are, drifting off after another wild night in 1970s Miami, a city where the beaches glittered, the clubs thumped until sunrise, and the NFL locker room was only slightly less chaotic than the local disco. You survived a day in the life of a cocaine-addicted football star, dodging linebackers, lawyers, and more federal agencies than should ever be necessary for a single person. Think back on what you endured. You woke up with your face pressed into a pillow full of sequins, tried to remember which car in the driveway actually belonged to you, and sprinted through practice powered mostly by bravado and whatever supplement someone left in your locker. You made it through suspicious press conferences, after parties with parakeets, and a hot tub full of teammates who all claimed they could stop any time they wanted. The city was wild, but your lifestyle? That was another level of dangerous, absurd, and honestly impressive in a how-are-you-not-dead sort of way. And yet somehow, you persisted. You outran scandal, outdanced the feds, and outlasted injuries that would have sent a medieval peasant to the afterlife with a polite note to his ancestors. It wasn't glamorous, and it definitely wasn't healthy, but you lived through an era defined by its chaos, its comedy, and its complete disregard for bedtime. So tonight, as you settle into your clean, quiet bed, no glitter, no hidden vials, no disco balls slowly spinning overhead, maybe spare a grateful thought for your modern comforts. You have toothpaste that isn't illegal, a mattress that doesn't smell like regret, and a job that probably doesn't require a lawyer on speed dial. Take a deep breath. Stretch out your legs. Whisper a quiet thank you to the universe for your indoor plumbing, your peace and quiet, and your ability to sleep soundly without worrying about the DEA. Because if history teaches us anything, it's that people are resilient, ridiculous, and stubbornly hopeful, even when running full speed into danger with a pocket full of bad decisions. So rest easy, knowing you've survived another night of laughter, wild stories, and absurd history. Good night. Good.